Morning. Hi.
To go with the questions we want.
Well, we have a very busy agenda today, but in truth, I think there's really only one major thing on people's minds, and that's how do we find a way of diffusing tension in relation to Russia-Ukraine.
And sir, can I ask you just to?
Sorry, we'll come to you after that. Sorry?
Sir, and can I ask you, on Saturday, the Ukrainian President Zelensky, he was very clear. He said at this point Ukraine needs money and it needs weapons, and sanctions should be already on the table. How united is that position here at a European level? Would you be in favor of putting on the table already on paper with details sanctions that could target Russia?
No, I think the EU has been very consistent on that and very united. There has been a lot of work to put in place a very comprehensive package of sanctions, but I think ministers have made the clear decision not to put the detail of that on the table at this stage, and I think that's the right decision. I suspect we'll be discussing that approach again today. But I think the main focus needs to be on preventing war, rather than how we respond to it. And the approach of the European Union has been in two areas. One, intensive diplomacy, and two, ensuring that there's a very strong deterrent to the invasion of Ukraine. And I think that is still the strategy. And I think given the initiative coming from President Macron in particular, I think that the European Union, working with the United States and others, should focus on trying to ensure that that initiative is successful.
And to prevent war, don't you need preventive sanctions? That's what the Ukrainians argue.
No, I think that clearly there needs to be a message that is fully understood and credible, that should there be an invasion of Ukraine, that very significant sanctions would follow immediately. But I think the way to prevent war is to talk and to find compromise and ways forward that can prevent invasion in the first place, which should be our priority now.
We will also meet today the GCC foreign ministers.
Yeah.
How important is this meeting? Do you expect to discuss the gas supplies? What do you expect from this meeting?
Well, I think there are broader issues to discuss outside of the Ukraine issue and the consequences potentially of that from a sanctions perspective, which obviously would impact on energy pricing. But I think there is a broader relationship needed between the EU and the Gulf states. There are many common interests that we have, not least global peace and security in the Gulf region. I've been quite involved on the UN Security Council on trying to ensure that the discussions around re-establishing a nuclear deal with Iran are successful, hopefully in the next few days. So I suspect that issue will be raised. But also increased cooperation between the Gulf states and the EU from a trade perspective and also a political perspective on multiple issues, from the Horn of Africa to the Middle East peace process to obviously peace and stability across the Gulf. There are, unfortunately, many significant issues that we need to work on together, from Yemen to Syria to Iraq, that I think a partnership between the EU and the Gulf states can be a very powerful force for good. And certainly I think that'll be the focus of the conversation today. Obviously, the issues and the consequences of an invasion of Ukraine will be mentioned too, but I think it is a broader discussion than that.
Minister, what do you think about Bosnia and Herzegovina? What will be your stand on this discussion?
What we would like to see, of course, is elections with integrity in the autumn. They're due to happen in October. But of course, there is discussion around electoral reform before those elections take place. And I think what the EU wants to see is those reform discussions conclude successfully with agreement on the reform that's necessary and has been agreed in the past, so that those elections can happen with integrity in a way that results in a functioning government in the aftermath of the elections. And I think that'll be the focus of the EU today.
Is the EU ready to send such a message to Bosnia and Herzegovina leaders?
Well, I think certainly the message coming from the EU will be that we want to see a full reform package agreed and implemented in advance of the elections, so that we can have elections that then successfully result in the formation of a government that can function. That's of course what we want to see: peace and stability in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I think that reform package would certainly help that to take place. Okay. Thank you.